This is it. The most viral recipe on the internet made even better. Bacon 1,000-layer potatoes. There are a lot of terrible 1,000-layer potato recipes out there. It's a delicious crispy potato dish cooked in lots of fat. It's actually quite simple, but there's definitely a lot of techniques and tips that chefs use that you probably don't know about to make it foolproof. And the first thing is the potato. You want it to be thin so you can see your finger through it, so almost transparent. You can do this with a knife, or in a professional kitchen, we would be using a mandolin. And whilst you're doing that, about 350 grams of butter. Seems like a lot, but you know by now, we like our butter. Importantly, when it cooks in the butter, a lot of that butter is actually going to come out when it's pressed. I don't know where the term 1,000-layer potato came from. I think it might be TikTok. I learned this technique and the foundations of this technique from doing dishes like the pommes boulanger, but also from doing pommes. Butter's foaming now. So that means that it's way over 70 degrees. It only starts foaming at about 100 degrees. Basically the solids and the milk solids starting to burn off. Ultimately, this is like a really nice way of making clarified butter because you get a really nice refined flavour in there. Slightly nuttier, and it's just a really beautiful golden colour, so it's going to enrich the colour of the 1,000-layer potatoes all the way down. That can be turned off now. Every single time I watch a 1,000-layer potato, if the final result is far too dark at the end, you basically can guarantee that they've used the wrong potato. What we're looking for in the potato is ideally something that's high in starch. That's going to help the whole thing stick. Low in water. That's going to help the whole thing get crispy. The variety that I'm using is an agria potato, but Maris Piper also works really, really well. What you want to try and avoid is a waxy variety, because that's going to have quite a lot of sugar in there. Ultimately, when you fry that, it's going to get very, very golden too quick. You won't get the crisp before it gets too dark. Potatoes are here. 8 potatoes, about 1,350 grams of potato. I'm just going to salt them just for a little bit before. Really important, and this is where most people go wrong, do not wash the potatoes. Basically, this is potato starch. You can use cornflour, you can use tapioca, basically anything you've got to hand. It won't make a huge amount of difference, but starch is the key ingredient in this recipe. And I'm so confident that this is going to be perfectly glued together that I'm actually going to chuck a couple of layers of bacon in between the potatoes. Obviously, bacon is absolutely delicious, so it's going to make your potato 10 times better if you can get some bacon in there as well. Now, we've used caramelized onion in the past, we've used a few different other things, and the way that you can maintain sort of the flexibility of adding what you want is through the starch. I've put it over a steamer tray, so I'm going to get as much of the fat out there as possible, but this way we'll basically caramelize the bacon, and that means I'm going to put caramelized bacon in between the layers of potato. Absolute scenes. So at home, just whack it into an oven on a little sheet pan, resting rack above it, so it can just drip down, or just whack it under the grill. Easy peasy. I'm just going to take my clarified butter, lightly browned, pass that through a fine sieve or a blue towel. Just use a little bit of kitchen roll, and then what we're going to add is around about 50 grams of starch to this mix. A small sieve. You could just use a big sieve. And then we've got this butter as well. Awesome golden brown. Some of the sediments fall to the bottom. Just leave that at the bottom. And then we're going to add slowly, not all of it at this stage, but this is going to make the layering really easy, 80 to 85% of our butter. The rest we're just going to save just for the top to make sure the whole thing is covered at the end. We added a bit of salt, so it's already seasoned. Now we're just going to mix these layers. Beautiful little discs of potato. Our bacon's come out. I've cooked it at quite a high temperature, so 200 degrees. Some of that fat's rendered off, which is exactly what we wanted. Our potatoes are sort of nice and saturated, very soft. Just trim that in half. I've just got one single layer of greaseproof, and I've just been quite careful that it doesn't overlap the side inside the farine mold, otherwise it can become a bit of a pain in the arse to get out of the mold. I think people think that it needs to be incredibly neat. By the time this is cooked, I mean, this is going to get another 2 hours. Can you imagine how cooked these potatoes are going to actually be? They're stuck together as well because of the natural starch from the potatoes, but also because of the additional starch that we've added. And just layering up. I've done one layer, now I'm just going to go and do another one. These little bits of butter and fat are perfect. They're going to sit in between, and as it gets hot again, they're going to melt. They're going to caramelize the potato. And also, don't worry about this loose moisture because it's going to cook for so long in the oven that all of that is going to evaporate. It's very consistent. It always seems to come out absolutely golden perfect on the outside and soft, completely soft to the touch on the inside. We've done our first layer of potato. I'm just going to put my hand in there and give it a nice sort of press down. And then I'm just going to go in there with a tiny little bit more starch. And then I'm going to go for it with my first layer of bacon. So nice crispy bits all in there. Then next layer. So I don't know who knows the English crisp, the frazzle. It's a legendary crisp that's got it's like a maize snack with a nice layer of bacon in between. That's what we're trying to emulate here. It's the boulanger frazzle. Then in with another layer of bacon. So just notice with the bacon as well, the way I'm layering it. If it's one complete layer of bacon, you won't have the potato contact that you need to ensure that the layers completely stick together. So what I'm looking for is bacon, potato, bacon, potato, bacon, potato. That potato has something to adhere to and stick to. If you were doing without bacon, I still recommend putting the starch in at the beginning. The extra little bit that I'm adding between the layers of bacon and potato, I think that's more just to help because you've added in there something that's got a little bit of fat in there and might just mess around slightly with the stability of it. I'm just now going to give it a really good press halfway through. I want this mold to be really nice and full. Potatoes are going to lose a little bit of moisture as this whole thing cooks. So it's really important that they get a little bit of pressure on them. Okay, so that's it. We've finished our layering up of the potato. The last little bit of butter that we kept back at the beginning, and that goes in over the top. Just to make sure that it's completely covered, because it's going to, essentially, this is going to confit. Now I'm just going to press the potato to get a really nice even final layer before it goes into cook, and all of that loose liquid will slowly evaporate and caramelize until we have a really exceptional caramelized, delicious potato terrine. Okay, so just before we place this in the oven, take another sheet of greaseproof and just make sure it nicely fits over the side, and then you're going to place another mold on top. This is going to go into the oven for 2 hours at 140 degrees, and then as soon as it comes out, we're going to put a weight on it, leave it to chill for all of that starch and that fat to set the terrine for 24 hours. So this is a boulanger that's been chilling down for about 12 hours, so not even 24 hours, but basically until it's completely cold. I have the luxury of having an incredibly heavy 15 kg weight that fits exactly into this mold. However, we only found this about a year ago. Until then, we actually used big bottles of oil, cider vinegar, salt, pretty much anything that's heavy you can whack on top of there. As long as the most important thing is when you put the weight on there, that this remains even. What we're gonna get is this beautifully caramelized potato terrine. We have a blowtorch in the restaurant. If you do not have a blowtorch, which is completely understandable, then just take a knife and go either side, because remember the greaseproof didn't go to the end here. Fill up your sink with warm water and pop it in there for a minute. It'll just get the metal hot and melt the outside of the terrine. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, that is a beautifully caramelized golden pont neuf. So trim 3 really nice bits, and then we're going to be ready to reheat them. So when I trim these down, I just take all 4 corners off. No need to if you're serving it at home, but I just think it makes it look a little bit more special. We've already put 2 days work into it, so you might as well. And then we're looking for a nice temperature on our oil. Looking for around about 190. Lower them in. Okay, so they should get this epic golden color all the way over. And because of that starch, this would be impossible if it wasn't for all of the starch in there holding it together. And you don't want to take them too far. You want them to be just beautiful golden, and that's exactly what we're looking for. That's been about 4 minutes in the fryer, about 190 degrees. And they're going to come out. Oh, just look at that. So beautiful. Then last thing, bacon, honey. It tastes so goddamn good. Cover it with a nice bit of honey. If you're maple inclined, that's absolutely delicious too. Really good hit of flaky salt. That is so good. Between every layer of golden potato, there's a beautiful sweet bacon crunch. Banging.